I first found out about the direction they're going to take Will last February. Not, I guess that'd be 2011. So it's been a while. And when I first heard that's the direction they were going to take the character, and I was basically I was thrilled and excited, because for me at that point I thought, wow, more screen time. Basically, I felt that this storyline that they wrote for Will was the most important storyline that I've ever done so far, and I knew that it would have a pretty big impact on the day's viewership, and so I wanted to make sure to tell it realistically and really kind of paint the picture of a real young man going through something like this, because in a small way our show, by doing this, is helping promote, equality. The biggest challenge for me was that I knew that if I didn't give it 100%, I would fail, and I would let not only myself down as an actor, but I think a lot of the the gay community and also the people who are watching.
I'm sorry, but it's over.
Those kind of young romances on soaps are kind of a dime a dozen. And I feel like the coming out storyline, even though I had to sacrifice the thing with Gabby, it was worth it, because this is different and this is unique, and I think it tells a different color of love.
I remember having the same doubts and fears when I was going to tell my family.
I absolutely love the way that they wrote Sonny and Will's relationship, because it is platonic. Basically, just because two guys are gay and they happen to be friends, and maybe they're the only two gay guys that we see often in Salem, doesn't mean they necessarily, have any romantic interest in each other. And I think that's great, because what Will needs from Sonny is not anything related to romance. He needs like a mentor, or basically just a friend to be there who has gone through what he's gone through, and to help him through that.
I've been fighting these feelings for so long.
I love that the writers didn't go for the shock factor, because I feel like that's the temptation for a lot of storylines like that, to go with there's no, and all of a sudden I'm gay, at his wedding to a girl or something like that, for the big shock. And they didn't do that, which I think is great, because the way that they wrote it, the slow, drawn out, it took over a year. All the stages of coming out were there. The being with Gabby and for some reason not really being, Will can't bring himself to be sexually attracted to her in the way that she wants, and he doesn't know why, and he hasn't really figured it out yet, and then slowly kind of realizing that maybe there's something wrong with him, and not really wanting to, in his back of his mind he knows what it might be, but he doesn't want to think it. He doesn't want to think it, he doesn't want to say it, and just kind of the gradual coming to terms with it and dealing with it. I think it's great because it's realistic, and even if it takes a long time, I'd say it's worth it, because the payoff in the end, I think, makes it worth it. It hasn't aired yet, but when Will finally comes out completely to Marlena, I think, for me, was such an amazing moment, because it was one of those rare moments or scenes where you kind of forget that you're pretending, And of course, Deidre Hall is so amazing to work with, and I think so far those are my favorite scenes, because they're not necessarily dramatic, they're not necessarily super emotional, but they were real, and I think they were true, and I'm excited for people to see it, because it was so much fun to shoot, so I hope that carries over on screen. Basically, what I'm saying is, if I was gay, I would know it. I think the first step is the hardest, really. At least it was for Will, coming to terms and finally saying and accepting to himself that he is gay. And after that, of course, it's difficult thinking about how to tell your parents. But I think once he's made that leap, everything else kind of is easier, because he almost gets excited. He's like, I've done it. There's a feeling of contentment, and there's almost having pride in the fact that you were brave enough to accept that about yourself. And of course, it's not completely smooth sailing from that moment, but I think it does get easier. It gets easier.